So last night I finished my two finals for the two classes I was taking in fall semester, or sorry, in spring semester. And I've got about a week now between spring semester and summer semester. And I'm taking it off of work as well. I'm going to try to do a little decompressing and stuff. But man, I finished those finals and I just started crying. Just to be entirely honest with you. It's exhausting, you know? I'm in my 30s and it's exhausting. And I work full time. I take care of my mom. And my mom has been a real fucking terror, let me tell you. And I pay for school out of pocket. And I'm very lucky to be able to pay for school out of pocket. I'm lucky that I have a six-figure income and I'm able to fucking afford it. But it still doesn't make it easy. I live in one of the most expensive places in the country, and it's tough. There's a lot of these like things where different parts of my life where people would, as instead of having just, empathy and sympathy and respect, would instead, likely choose to tell me to not do those things, because for whatever reason. But I was just crying, and it wasn't necessarily bad, but it wasn't good either, I went back to school not to make more money. I will not make more money really in the field that I'm going to school for than what I do now. That wasn't really the point, and how much money you make shouldn't be the point of school. For me, the decision, there's a lot of this conversation about people using ChatGPT for school, and there's a lot of scolding of people who are in school using ChatGPT. And I'll tell you, as somebody who pays for school and chose to go back to school, I don't use ChatGPT for school. Especially, I'm getting a journalism degree. It feels a little self-defeating to use ChatGPT. But what I will say is that I think a lot of the scolding on them, on students, is misplaced. You're not going to convince them to stop using it. First of all, it's a waste of time. But it's like with a lot of things, right? The onus belongs on the companies that are providing this service. That's where the focus should be. And we should talk about the fact that students are using it, and what that means for our society, because it's bad. But it's a tool that's available. The students are going to use it. And the reason why I bring up the fact that I pay for it and that I've gone back voluntarily and all those things is because that is, for me, I think the crux of why it's easy for me not to use it and why it's hard for them to not use it. And it goes back to what I was talking about, which is that there's value in college education regardless of how much money you're going to make. That's a message that we don't push anymore, and that we need to start pushing again, because people see college as a means to an end. They see it as a means to a paycheck. They see it as a means to a career. And it can be those things. But we are selling it as exclusively those things. And we don't talk about the value of the education itself. And so when you have a society that only sees college as a way to make money, of course people are going to use any means necessary to get that college degree. You know what I mean? Like, this is a $20, $30 a month investment for them to get that degree and make more money. Because that's all that we say it as. You go to college and you get the degree and then you can make more money. That's society's fault. And we need to stop talking about college that way. And I know a lot of people on the left don't talk about college that way, but we need to be louder about the value of a college education, because boy, howdy, people need it. People really do need it. And it's crazy to me that, politicians will talk about, having to compete with China in the same breath as they slash all these things that make us competitive with China. But that's a different video for a different time. It's just, people should get these educations, and we need to start talking about education differently. And that can start with not scolding people for using ChatGPT, but just talking about what the value of education is. Because it really, it's it's really difficult to fathom how useful the skills you get in college are. And yeah, you see it all over the internet. I mean, you see that people don't have the tools necessary to think critically, to research things, to read about things, to learn about things, to understand what they don't know, which is, I think, really important. You every semester in school, you have to accept that you don't know things, and some people don't face that anymore, especially with Google. Even not even ChatGPT, but with Google, we boiled down the idea that, like, if you don't know something, you can just Google it and understand it better. And now with ChatGPT, it's even worse, right? It's kind of just devalued this idea of education, but education's about that infrastructure of thinking and critical thinking and learning, and it's about building the infrastructure to do those things correctly. It's not about memorizing information. We all know that. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to watch what this society has done around education and learning and college. And then again, and it's what we do with every societal problem: turn around and blame the least among us. 18 and 19-year-olds who are going to college are not the root of the problem. It's companies that are marketing to those children and spending just insane amounts of money on these tools that are going to cripple us as a society. I saw an article the other day about how Google is essentially making its AI tools available through Google. I think was it Google Kids or Google Family? I can't remember what their service is, but essentially, your kids are going to be able to interact with AI at a very young age. And part of the article I was reading was saying that Google had put out this notification, and it was essentially your kids could get false or misleading information or harmful information. Talk to them about how to properly discern real from fake information with AI. And as I was reading it, I was just like, why? Why is it so important that you push this out onto children to the extent that you want a bunch of adults who don't know how to tell the difference between real and AI to have conversations with their children about figuring out the difference between real and AI generated content? How harmful and how just reckless do you have to be, and to what end, except for to hook children on AI? Just it's like tobacco companies. You know what I mean? It's genuinely is. You want to create these lifelong consumers, people who can't think, speak, write anything without the assistance of AI, and you want to start them early, and that's what it's about. And it's insane to me that anyone's okay with that. If you're a parent and you're trying to do right by your kid, do not use those Google services that will essentially prey on your children and try to get them addicted to AI from as young of an age as possible. That's my advice to you. And I know the temptations will be there, because I'm sure it's even harder, than not letting your kid watch TV. This is an interactive thing. You're essentially a robot fucking nanny. But seriously, resist the urge, man. You're not doing your kid any favors with that. Anyway, I don't have any jokes here. Just some stuff I'm thinking about that I wanted to share with you guys. It's been a long semester, and I'm glad that it is over. And onward and upward, I guess.